This is not just a story. It's a reality millions walk through, unnoticed. A truth hidden beneath the skyline of dreams. Welcome to New York City, a place where glass towers pierce the sky and ambition hums through every street corner. From movie screens to music lyrics, this city is hailed as the land of limitless opportunity, where fortunes are built and legends are born. They call it the Empire State, fast, loud, unstoppable. But behind the shimmering lights and postcard landmarks, a very different world quietly unfolds. Today we pull back the curtain. From the steel giants of Manhattan to the calm avenues of Staten Island, we travel through the heart of New York, uncovering the growing crisis of homelessness. We'll meet the people living without shelter, hear their stories of survival, and speak with local leaders battling to turn things around. How well do today's policies actually work? And what would it take to build real, lasting change? This isn't just a documentary. It's a deeper look at a crisis that's spreading, fast. They just move them around, I've seen it, like pushing pain into the shadows. Homelessness in New York has reached levels not seen since the Great Depression. As of August 2024, an estimated 350,000 people in the state are without stable housing. Each night, 132,000 seek refuge in an overwhelmed shelter system, while thousands more sleep in subway stations, parks, or on strangers' couches. Over the past 2 decades, homelessness has risen by an alarming 175%. A temporary 25% dip during the pandemic, thanks to eviction freezes and emergency aid, gave some relief, but the storm quickly returned, fiercer than before. Most striking of all, 71% of those in shelters are families, including over 46,000 children, a haunting truth in one of the richest cities on earth. This divide between wealth and despair is growing deeper by the day, and in this journey we'll visit the 10 most impacted cities in New York State, revealing how each one faces its own version of the same emergency. Syracuse, known as a key city in upstate New York, Syracuse surprisingly has the smallest recorded homeless population on our list. About 25 to 30 people reported sleeping in shelters or on the streets each night. Yet, the struggle is no less real. Economic hardship and a severe shortage of affordable housing continue to push people out of stability and into survival mode. One detail stands out. A noticeable number of Syracuse's homeless are military veterans, a stark reminder of how difficult the return to civilian life can be, even for those who once served this country. To combat the crisis, city officials have launched programs like Housing First and From Day One, both aiming to provide shelter without complex requirements or prerequisites. But progress has been slower here. Limited resources, low funding, and operational scale hold back momentum. Still, the people of Syracuse remain determined. Grassroots support is strong, and local compassion runs deep. Staten Island. The smallest of New York City's 5 boroughs, Staten Island may appear quieter, but homelessness here is just as urgent. Currently, 216 people live without stable housing. While the lower population density makes it less visible, the need is no less pressing. In recent years, 3 new shelters opened on Van Duzer Street, Highland Boulevard, and Tompkins Avenue. Together, they provide a range of support, with Van Duzer being the largest, offering housing for up to 500 individuals. The other 2 serve 50 women and 100 individuals respectively. But shelter alone isn't enough. That's where local nonprofit People's Path steps in. Filling the gaps government can't cover, they offer essential services, food, clothing, medical aid, and the human touch so often missing from larger systems. Albany. New York's capital city stands as a beacon of history, education, and governance. But behind the scenes, 750 individuals face homelessness each day. The crisis here is sharpened by soaring living costs and a critical lack of affordable housing, exposing a troubling contrast between the city's progress and its hidden poverty. In response, the state rolled out Project Hope Albany, a rapid intervention program meant to stabilize vulnerable residents. Yet, like many social initiatives, its impact is dampened by limited funding and an overburdened support system. Compared to nearby cities like Syracuse, Albany's homeless population is disproportionately high, a sobering reality for the seat of government. Rochester. Once an icon of American innovation, home to giants like Kodak and the prestigious University of Rochester, the city now finds itself in the grip of a deepening housing crisis. At present, around 83 individuals are without shelter. It may seem small in number, but it speaks volumes of how far the city has drifted from its once proud legacy. Recently, safety concerns have escalated, especially in homeless encampments. Fires and other incidents have placed pressure on officials to act. Yet, many interventions fall flat due to poor planning and a lack of funding. Take the example of Peace Village, a long-standing encampment recently dismantled with no clear plan in place. Many residents had nowhere else to go and ended up back on the streets. Brooklyn, a cultural giant, home to the iconic Brooklyn Bridge, vibrant street life, and historic neighborhoods. But Brooklyn, too, carries its own crisis. Today, around 1,157 individuals in this borough are unhoused, and rising rent is only making things worse. Here's the harsh truth. Many of Brooklyn's homeless are working people. They clock in, punch out, but their wages can't keep up with the cost of simply having a roof overhead. Despite ongoing efforts to expand affordable housing, Brooklyn's transformation has come at a cost. Property values continue to skyrocket. Gentrification races forward, and the demand for low-income housing far outpaces what the city can provide. Tensions are rising. In neighborhoods like Bensonhurst, residents have staged protests over the opening of new homeless shelters. Many fear these facilities might disrupt the social fabric or change the identity of their communities. In Sunset Park, small business owners are voicing growing concerns, encountering needles near storefronts, navigating around makeshift encampments lining the sidewalks. Their frustration reveals a deeper divide, a borough rising in wealth, while many of its most vulnerable fall further behind. Queens. Long praised for its cultural richness and strong immigrant roots, Queens is now facing a surge in homelessness. At present, over 1,219 individuals in the borough are without a safe place to sleep. And just like Brooklyn, a large number of them are employed, holding down jobs that simply can't keep up with rent. It's an increasingly common tragedy, people who work full-time yet still sleep on benches, in shelters, or in cars. Though programs like transitional housing and rental assistance exist, they lag behind the ever-growing need. In community districts 1 and 12, shelters for recent migrants have been set up at a rapid pace, drawing concern from longtime residents who feel left out of key decisions. One flashpoint is the conversion of the Wyndham Garden Hotel in Ridgewood Park into a homeless shelter. Many locals say it happened without community input, fueling a sense of alienation and mistrust. Meanwhile, places like Jamaica Station have become default shelters by night, a refuge for the unhoused, but a source of unease for regular commuters. These developments reflect a larger dilemma: how to respond with empathy while still including communities in long-term sustainable solutions. Buffalo. Once a titan of industry, Buffalo now finds itself on the front lines of New York's homelessness crisis. With 1,432 people living without shelter, the city faces a perfect storm of obstacles: collapsed factories, high unemployment, and aging housing stock, all compounded by brutal winters that turn the streets into survival zones. In the coldest months, emergency shelters fill fast. But when beds run out, many have no choice but to brave the icy streets. Efforts to clear downtown encampments have done little beyond pushing people from one block to another. Without long-term housing or reliable services, the cycle resets and the crisis deepens. Buffalo's struggle mirrors the broader issue facing upstate New York: economic decay, limited social safety nets, and thousands left without a path forward. The Bronx, birthplace of hip-hop, home to deep culture and enduring pride. But the Bronx also carries a heavy weight: the highest poverty rate in all of New York City, and a homelessness crisis affecting 1,458 residents. Here, homelessness doesn't just happen, it's passed down, generation to generation. Many living on the streets today were born into homelessness, raised in shelters, and are now stuck in the same struggle their parents once faced. This cycle of displacement has become heartbreakingly normal in one of the city's most historic boroughs. The Bronx also has the most shelters of any borough, yet they are chronically overcrowded. Parks and sidewalks have become fallback zones, where makeshift camps regularly appear. And even when the city clears them out, they come back. Because clearing tents doesn't erase the reason people set them up in the first place. Manhattan. At the very heart of New York's fame and fortune lies Manhattan, a world of Times Square lights, billion-dollar buildings, and unshakable energy. But beneath that glamour is one of the city's most visible homeless populations. Over 4,000 people sleeping without shelter. Subway stations, public parks, busy intersections. In Manhattan, the crisis is impossible to ignore. A painful contrast in a borough that also houses the financial elite. To clean up public spaces, the city conducts frequent sweeps, removing tents, shuffling people away. But these actions often serve optics more than outcomes. They don't address why people are unhoused in the first place. Take the tunnel near the Hudson River in Upper Manhattan. Once a forgotten passageway, it has become a shadow city of its own, with tents, mattresses, and tarps forming a fragile community underground. The smell is unbearable. The sidewalks are blocked. Residents nearby avoid the area entirely. Yet, even after repeated cleanups, the encampments reappear. Because the real issue isn't the tents, it's the lack of anywhere else to go. New York City, at large. Zoom out, and the full picture comes into view. Every night, across the 5 boroughs, over 4,140 people sleep in parks, on subway benches, or under scaffolding. And that number only reflects those counted outdoors. Add in those using the city's shelter system, and the total swells to over 150,000 people relying on temporary housing. New York operates the largest homeless response network in the nation, but even this massive system is straining under the pressure. High rents, widening income gaps, limited affordable housing. Even new construction projects aimed at solving the problem face pushback, especially from wealthy neighborhoods where residents oppose shelters near their homes. It's a vicious cycle. The city clears one encampment, only for another to rise nearby. Temporary fixes stack up. Long-term solutions stall. And the people, the human beings behind the statistics, remain caught in the middle. The invisible underground, mole people. Hidden beneath the very streets we walk are thousands of lives we rarely think about. An estimated 5,000 to 25,000 individuals are believed to live in the forgotten underworld of New York, deep within subway tunnels, sewer lines, and abandoned infrastructure. They are often referred to as mole people, survivors who've built shadow communities far from public view. Some live dangerously close to live electrical tracks. Others carve out space in dark, damp corridors filled with risk. But beyond the physical danger lies something more haunting: social invisibility. Their existence speaks volumes, not just about physical displacement, but about a society that has pushed its most vulnerable so far to the margins that they have literally gone underground. Addressing the crisis, government and community response. Solving homelessness in New York requires more than just shelters. It demands a layered, systemic approach. Local and state governments have implemented programs like Housing First, a model that starts with providing immediate shelter, no strings attached, before addressing issues like healthcare, addiction, and joblessness. Efforts like Albany Project Hope aim to offer fast, supportive interventions that transition people from the streets into stable homes. Yet, these programs face persistent hurdles: limited funding, overloaded systems, and inconsistent implementation. Intentions are noble, capacity is limited, and the scale of the problem, massive. The critical role of nonprofits. Nonprofit organizations often fill the gaps that government agencies cannot. Take People's Path in Staten Island, an organization delivering food, clothing, medical help, and even job training to the unhoused, operating on tight budgets and sheer dedication. In Rochester, nonprofit teams stepped up after the controversial dismantling of Peace Village, a local encampment. Their advocacy highlighted the urgent need for long-term plans, not just temporary relocations. Across New York, these groups prove that community action is not just valuable, it's essential. Empowering through community involvement. Local businesses, volunteers, and residents all play a role. In Sunset Park, Brooklyn, store owners voiced concerns about rising homelessness, leading to grassroots forums on how economic development and social support can coexist. Awareness campaigns and educational events reduce stigma, helping the public see homelessness not as a crime, but as a human condition, one that deserves compassion, not condemnation. Real solutions begin when communities are part of the conversation. Prevention through education and opportunity. Prevention is just as critical as intervention. Education and job training programs help the homeless rebuild their lives and reclaim self-sufficiency. Teaching people how to stay housed is just as vital as finding them a place to sleep. Support like rental assistance and eviction protection can prevent families from ever falling into homelessness in the first place, saving lives and reducing long-term costs to the system. Innovation and mental health integration. Modern problems demand modern solutions. Mobile apps now connect unhoused individuals to food banks, shelter availability, and job listings in real time. Data analytics help pinpoint where resources are needed most and measure which programs work best. And then there's one issue that often gets overlooked: mental health. A staggering portion of the homeless population battles untreated mental illness, trauma, or substance dependency. Without access to mental health care, many remain trapped in cycles of instability. Combining mental health support with housing isn't just helpful, it's necessary. Without it, true recovery remains out of reach. At the root, affordable housing. At the core of this crisis lies a simple truth: people can't afford to live here anymore. Skyrocketing rents, vanishing low-cost units, wages that no longer match the cost of living. Addressing homelessness means building more affordable homes, enforcing rent stabilization, and providing subsidies for those barely scraping by. Policy recommendations for real change. To truly move the needle, policymakers must think long-term and act now. Expand affordable housing through public-private partnerships and state investment integrate services, healthcare, addiction treatment, mental wellness, education, and employment. prevent homelessness through eviction protections, rental assistance, and emergency funds. Unite communities and governments through partnerships that actually listen and respond. Change the narrative by raising awareness and fighting harmful stereotypes. Conclusion: a shared responsibility. From Syracuse to Manhattan, each corner of New York tells a different story, but they're all bound by one common thread: the growing human cost of an unequal system. Yes, the problem is massive. But so is our capacity to care. So is our power to act. Homelessness is not a faceless issue. It's about mothers, veterans, teenagers, workers, real people with real stories. Have you ever imagined what it's like to live without a key, without a place to call home, in one of the wealthiest cities in the world? As this documentary ends, the question remains: what will we do? Not just as cities, not just as governments, but as neighbors, as people. If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us tell the untold stories and reach more people with truth, compassion, and hope. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next chapter in our travel documentary series as we continue to explore the unseen sides of urban life.